Hello and welcome. Thank you for your interest in learning more about why security matters and how to protect your business and maintain trust with your customers by securing your workload on Azure. My name is Charles Pluta, and I'm a senior engineer on an ISV and startup team in FastTrack for Azure. Our team helps our software vendors and technology partners deploy and modernize their cloud applications. Let's start off with some statistics. These aren't here to try to scare you, but we need to be aware of the consequences of inaction or the mindset of we'll cross that bridge when it happens. And in a few slides, we'll talk about some of the tools and services that we can use to try to mitigate these data breaches from happening in the first place. You can pause the video here if you would like to read all of the statistics, which are from a report sponsored by IBM Security and created by the Ponemon Institute. I'll highlight the first two, in which 27% of data breaches involve the theft of intellectual property, and 26% included theft of employee personal information. So as a software vendor, we need to be aware that attackers are not always after customer data. So with that in mind, what are we supposed to do about it? Microsoft has created the well-architected framework, which provides guidance on how to manage your application in Azure. We need to spend time on managing resource security and have a plan for incident response. This is so that we can avoid the statistics and expenses that we saw on the previous slide, but just as importantly, not lose the trust of your customers. Now, if you're a large organization or an enterprise, you might have the resources to have a dedicated security team that includes some of the job roles that are listed here. Realistically, and especially in the startup world, we don't. But that doesn't mean that the responsibilities of these job roles should go unnoticed. Take the time to review these job roles and other security-related roles and assign the responsibilities to the appropriate person or team in your organization. As we shift the conversation from the business value and reasoning for implementing security, let's look at the layers of protection that we need to be aware of. First, there's threat detection. These are the alerts and vulnerabilities at the various layers of our application's attack surface. One of the best ways to defend is to understand how an attack is going to work. The MITRE ATT&CK framework helps us understand an attack's lifecycle and what to do about it. Under threat intelligence, think of the volume of potential attacks that Microsoft can see and the threat intelligence that comes from that. Then finally, the services to identify and manage vulnerabilities, and then correlate the alerts across resources that can then be grouped into incidents. Now that we've talked about the why, let's take a look at the ways that we can use Azure to help us mitigate attacks and protect our resources. For this conversation, we'll look at securing our application with three different lenses. First, from a design and build perspective, to ensure our application is built on a secure foundation. That includes ideas like designing for failures, using zero trust principles, and using the available security resources when deploying the application. But that's only the start. After the application is deployed, we should use the native Azure controls to proactively stay secure. That means using Defender for Cloud, web app firewalls, Azure Key Vault, centralizing our identity and access with Azure Active Directory, and the other built-in services that help secure our applications. Then, inevitably, we'll have to detect and respond to the threats against our environment. We can use the Microsoft Security Graph, Defender for Cloud, and Microsoft Sentinel to help us monitor, mitigate, and provide automated responses to these security threats. Let's look more at building on a secure foundation with a comprehensive strategy towards managing security. One of the primary objectives of security is to protect your customers' data. Two core Azure tools to do this include Azure Active Directory for identity and access, and Azure Key Vault for secrets, certificates, connection strings, keys, and more. You should also consider measuring the deployment of your resources against the Azure Security Benchmark. The Azure platform is built on custom hardware with integrated security, and the host attestation service ensures hardware security from the platform. You can take this one step further by considering confidential compute with virtual machines, Kubernetes, and databases. Putting the security measures in place are only the beginning, and then we need to test and monitor these controls. Consider using simulated attacks and independent audits to validate the environment. Another principle of a secure foundation is to assume zero trust. You might have heard the saying, trust but verify. And you can think of that when using multi-factor authentication, for example. Sure, you know the password, but do you also have something else that proves who you are? With zero trust, the approach is to always verify. This can be performed at different levels of an application, with some of the examples being on the slide. As traffic enters the network to access our application, what is that traffic doing? Does it match a pattern that appears to be a DDoS attack? Or does the packet contain data that uses common exploits and known vulnerabilities? The DDoS protection and web application firewall capabilities that can be configured in Azure help with these scenarios. For both inbound and outbound traffic, you can use Azure firewalls and network security groups to protect applications and data with network and application-specific filters from Layer 3 to Layer 7. Additionally, you can integrate your virtual network directly with the Azure platform services to configure fine-grained access to the services that you plan to use. Microsoft has invested in native security controls across identity and access management, application and data security, network security, threat protection, and security management. The identity and access management tools enable you to take an identity-based approach to security and establish truly conditional access policies. The built-in app and data security controls help you protect your applications and your data as it moves around both inside and outside your organization. Azure includes a robust networking infrastructure with built-in security controls for your application and service connectivity. Built-in and fully integrated threat protection capabilities allow you to strengthen application protection with deep capabilities across email, collaboration services, as well as post-incident detection that includes memory and kernel-based protection with automated responses. The security management tools give you the visibility and, more importantly, the guidance to manage policies in a central location. You might ask, what do I control? How do I manage my data? And how do I secure access to it? By using these multiple controls as a defense in-depth strategy, from identity, which is the new perimeter of a cloud-native application, to security management, where we can create a unified view for security, whether it be native, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments. So what are the tools that we can use for identity and access management, application and data security, network security, threat protection, and security management? The three main tools to consider are first, Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud addresses three of the urgent security challenges. First, we have increasingly sophisticated attacks, some security skills that might be in short supply, and rapidly changing workloads across our cloud environments. Defender for Cloud helps us to strengthen our security posture, protect us against those threats, and to get secure faster with the recommendations it provides. For web applications, the Web Application Firewall provides protection, monitoring, and several customization options for inspection of the web request and prevention of common exploits like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. Finally, Azure Active Directory provides a cross-environment identity and access management solution for your organization and your application. It provides access to external resources like Microsoft 365 and thousands of other SaaS applications, as well as an identity and access management solution for your internal resources like your corporate network, intranet apps, or your proprietary cloud apps. You can securely share your resources with your customers and external partners by using Azure Active Directory. The third pillar we'll discuss is designing for resilience with cloud-native security and governance, as well as threat detection. The threat landscape is becoming more complex with increasing sophistication of attacks and wider attack surfaces. Security teams can struggle to manage the environment with multiple solutions across multiple applications that are often not integrated. This can result in serious threats that avoid detection because of data being collected and analyzed in silos, as well as security teams that suffer from alert plague. To help close this gap, we need intelligent, automated, and integrated security that provides visibility and proactive response across our application. Azure Sentinel provides intelligent security analytics across the application using the connectors that are built in. We can connect to any of our security sources by using these connectors and industry standards to take advantage of the artificial intelligence that comes with Azure Sentinel to correlate data across these different sources. This gives you more time back from managing the environment to be able to mitigate these threats. Two of the key inputs to Microsoft Sentinel are the Microsoft 365 Defender services, as well as the Microsoft Defender services that are used in Azure across servers, containers, IoT, and more. So what is the call to action to strengthen the security posture of your application that's running in Azure? The best way to get started is to enable Defender for Cloud to assess your deployment against the Azure Security Benchmark. It might return a long and complex list of recommendations, but focus on the top 5 and take a methodical approach to configuring the environment. You can learn more at aka.ms/Defender for Cloud. Thank you for learning more about why security matters and how you can protect your business, your intellectual property, and your customers' data by using these resources and tactics.